So based on the fact that you were at Snowflake Summit and now you are at Databricks event, you have the two storage systems, and it sounds like you need to have a way to consistently apply the policies based on the personas, irrespective of where they are.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, the non-technical folks, someone working in compliance and legal, they don't care about what is it, the primitive that we're using to implement those access rules on Snowflake or Databricks. They care about who can access what. And so building that unified layer that is abstracted across both is really the goal of everything we're doing.
How is it going? If you can add some color, when I talk to my customers, their biggest problem is they want to do more with the data, they want to leverage it, but they're held back because they cannot guarantee security, and especially protecting data privacy for sensitive data. So how have you solved that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the responsibilities that we push out to our data owners is the role of actually tagging the data and letting us know and identifying, are there any sensitive data assets inside this table? Once we have that information and they supply us with that, we can then build the central governance policies, which actually puts those guardrails in place to make sure that when someone is making a single access request, they're not violating any of our most important business rules. And what that does is actually empowers those teams to make those access request decisions themselves, and actually puts the guardrails in place to make sure that, like you said, people can move faster and reduce that time to data.
In other words, what you're saying is that the responsibility of defining the tags lies with the people who understand the data the best.
Exactly.
So the domains.
Yep.
And so they are responsible for tagging it. Now, does it happen in cases where humans make mistakes and they may not tag the data? So do you have a process to catch such situations?
Yeah, so we try and put as much of this into the PR process as possible. So within our CI/CD workflow, we have checks in place to make sure that if you're introducing a new column, you've explicitly labeled it as either containing or not containing some of those sensitive data assets. That is, we want to basically add more and more friction the more sensitive that data becomes. So for something like PI for our financial data, we want to make sure that that is explicitly provided for each table. For something which is less sensitive, we might not care if that slips through the cracks occasionally. And then for other data assets, we just add less and less friction in place.
Do you have a hierarchy of tags? Because you may say that this is sensitive data, but then is it a social security number or is it a credit card number? Because one is PCI and one is could be HIPAA. And how do you do that?
Yeah, so that definitely that's definitely one of the challenges which we have as an independent piece of data by themselves, like you're saying, may not be personally identifiable. As you start joining things together, that's when assets become PI. So I think that's something which we have to defer to the experts in our GRC team to help us out with. And we actually have a process for bringing in human review of some of those annotations to make sure that what the data owner thinks is correct is actually been verified by one of those experts.
Do you also have this concept of you may have a policy that is applicable, like both Snowflake, Databricks, and other data transformation, and then you have very narrow focus policy. So you have global and you have local. Does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that we're still actually evolving the interplay between those two. So right now it's mainly we have global policies, which are those guardrails to make sure that we're not exposing something where we shouldn't. And then the individual access request is more an end user saying, I need access to this one table. Can I have it or not? As it comes to building out and actually federating out that process more, and we divide our teams into those different domains, local policies is definitely something which we're exploring, but not anything in production right now.
Okay. One final question. How do you measure the ROI or the success? Like, do you have more users now that can be onboarded faster, more use cases, now that you have put the right protection, the policies in place? What's your thought?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we have a developer productivity team who helps a lot with measuring our on-call and operational workload. And so tracking those metrics to make sure that we're tagging, when we're doing our operations work, and someone has to be on this occasionally, making sure that we tag those incoming requests as something relating to data access or data controls. We can see over time how that burden on our teams actually reduces. And we use that as, I guess, a proxy for making sure that time to data metric is the thing we're really focusing on optimizing for.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so much fun talking to you.
Absolutely, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks.